My fiancé has been getting really close with my ex. I can't marry him after finding out why. My boyfriend Dylan and I have been dating for almost 5 years, and he proposed 9 months ago. We've known each other since high school, however, at the time we were only friends since I was dating my ex, Jason. In high school, Jason cheated on me multiple times, so we broke off. It was nothing special, nothing more than a high school relationship. That's when I went to college, where I started dating Dylan. They only knew of each other from high school but never had an actual friendship. Well, Dylan decided to host a party in order to celebrate our engagement, and one of his friends brought Jason along. And surprise, surprise, they became best of friends in no time. Now they text every day, go out on the weekends, and even have dinner together constantly. At first, I didn't think too much of it, but I started getting more and more uncomfortable as they were getting closer. I talked about this with Dylan after he came back home from work. I established that his friendship with Jason was concerning to me and that he spends more time with him than with his own fiancée. He told me I was exaggerating. We kind of had an argument about how Jason cheated and lied to me for years and how could he be okay with that. He said that people can change and that he didn't mean it. We didn't talk much after that, but he later apologized and told me he'd take me to dinner at my favorite restaurant the next day in order to compensate. I was really excited. I even went to get my hair done and bought a really pretty dress that afternoon. We said we would see each other at the restaurant since he can't get out of work earlier. Well, an hour passed and there was no sign of him. I started to get worried, so I called him repeatedly. Then he arrived, looking terrible. He was drunk and smelled like cigarettes. I asked him where he was as he kept trying to avoid the question. I asked him again and his guilty face told me everything. He was with Jason. I was livid. I got up and left the restaurant. We had an argument outside and he confessed that he promised Jason to go with him to visit this new bar at his house and didn't want to fail him. But I said it seemed he cared more about him than us, that he should get married to Jason if he is that important. He said he was the only one who understood him, not like me. I exploited and told him that if he didn't cut him off then I won't marry him. After this whole ordeal, Jason called me. He asked me if we could see each other to talk about something. He didn't disclose what it was about, but he said it was important. We went to a coffee shop near my house and we talked. Jason said that he was sorry for what Dylan did and that if he had known Dylan had plans with me already, he'd have canceled immediately. Because he cares for me, and he was sorry for our past issues, that he has changed, and he's a better man now. I went straight to the point and asked him what he wanted. He continued by saying that he only was telling me this because he cared and wanted me to be happy. He then dropped the bomb on me. Dylan is gay, not bi, gay. Jason has known this since high school because he cheated on me with Dylan. I knew Jason was a cheater because someone sent me pics of him kissing other girls, but I never saw him with a guy, so I didn't know he was bi. He said it was just a fling, and cut contact with him after that for a long time. Then Dylan reached out to invite him to our engagement party, where he cheated on me with Jason again. We didn't live together at the time, so when I thought he was in his house, he was actually banging him. Jason realized what they did was wrong, and that he didn't want me to be with someone like Dylan. So he flirted with Dylan in order to make him leave me so I could find someone who could actually treat me the way I deserved. At first, he thought Dylan would do it, but little by little realized he wouldn't let me go because he was so afraid to tell the world he was gay. Jason threatened him, that if he loved him he'd leave me. Dylan refused, so Jason pretended to lose interest in him. Dylan became obsessed and afraid he'd leave, so every time he could, he'd talk to him, and see him. But since he never confessed his true self, he decided to tell me so I wouldn't waste more time with him. I couldn't hold back my tears. I was so heartbroken I didn't realize Jason was hugging me. He continued saying that he was sorry but that I needed to know the truth and that if I ever needed anything I could call him. I left and packed all my stuff from the house. I took everything and went back to my sister's. There was no sign of Dylan. He hadn't even called or texted. Nothing, and I was starting to believe what Jason said was actually true. I felt betrayed, lied to, and furious all at the same time. The truth really hurt this time around. After a couple of days had passed, Dylan still never called me, so I decided to force him to tell me the truth. He didn't want to talk to me, but I insisted. He started by saying he was sorry, he needed to clear his head and then would come back home. I told him it wasn't necessary, I didn't want to get married anymore. He was mad and started reclaiming me. I told him that I knew everything about Jason and him and how much of a coward he was for using me to hide his sexuality. He was crying, saying that it was a bunch of BS, Jason's lying, and that I wanted to belittle him. After a few minutes, he gave up and implored me to not tell his family or anyone. I said I wouldn't do that, but still, I won't marry him. I gave him the ring, but he grabbed my hand tightly. Told me how could I do this to him, that I wanted to hurt him, I owed him this. I asked him to let me go, he was hurting me, but he didn't. My friend had to pull us apart. Dylan was screaming and getting aggressive, saying that I should stop lying. I cheated on him with Jason and I wanted to blame him by saying he was gay when he wasn't. My friend told him to get out and he did. After that, his family called asking what I'd done to him, calling me a liar and a snake. I told them to talk to Dylan and if they continued harassing me, I'd tell them the truth. Jason also reached out and sent me flowers, which I threw away. I told him to leave me alone and to never contact me again if he didn't want me to get a restraining order. I haven't heard from them since.